Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Free Georgia Podcast. My name is Jake Green, joined now by Cat Hartley. Cat, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. You know what drives me nuts about our opening titles is she says less than 24 hours to open it up, and it should be fewer than 24 hours.
Oh, is that like a grammatical thing?
It's a it drives me crazy, but it was such a good little bit to put at the beginning of the credits, but it still drives me crazy. I might have to redo it at some point. Yeah, the less and fewer than are two things that make me go nuts.
I don't understand the difference.
Less or fewer is a specific number. So if they're citing a specific number, then it's fewer than. Less than is like a volume, like there's less sunlight right now. You know, there's less snow on the ground. There's not fewer snow on the ground. But there are fewer people in this room, not less people in this room.
They didn't teach me that in school.
Well, here's your schooling for today, everybody. You're welcome. We're beating the public education system already. So, okay. Before we get started, y'all, the Great Crate's coming up. It's one of the best events of the year that LP Georgia supports and Elizabeth Melton organizes. It's such a good time. I highly recommend getting your tickets now. You have 47 days to do so before the event. Got some great featured speakers, which I'm sure more will be featured very soon. Yeah, I've gone the past 3 years or 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And it's been a really good time. You get to learn a lot. You get to hang out with a bunch of folks who are very like-minded. And yeah, you get to go to a bunch of like workshops and see some films and yeah, it's just a really good time. Highly recommend going. This year it's in Ackworth, so it's a little closer to Metro Atlanta for those who live in that area. Last year it was down, I forget what the town was. Do you remember what the town was?
No, it was near Columbus though.
Yeah, which was a great brewery, but you know, it's an hour and a half away. So this one's a little closer. So yeah, get your tickets now, thegreatcreate.org.
This will be the first year I go.
Nice. Yeah, no, it'll be a good time. I'm going too. I'll be in town, and yeah, I'm not doing a live podcast this year, which much to the dismay of Elizabeth, but I just want to hang out with some folks for the few days that I'm in Atlanta.
I can do it.
Okay, we can set that up.
Okay, cool.
All right. Also, head on over to lpgeorgiaconvention.com to register for the LP Georgia Convention of 2026. 116 days to do so. I know that sounds like a long time, but that's like 3.5 months. That's not too long. You can there's a theme contest. You can register. Go to the about page, what to expect. That's a great piece of AI art.
Yeah, this
right
is
there.
a fancy page.
Yeah. Let's see. What are the event packages? I haven't even looked at the event packages. Page not found. So much for fancy. Keynote speakers are TBA. But yeah, you can go over to LP Georgia Convention and also lpgeorgia.org to learn more about the Libertarian Party of Georgia and what we're doing around the state to spread freedom and liberty.
Oh, the theme contest is
Yes.
what you should be voting for.
The theme contest. Let me bring it back up.
Did we have a theme? Did we have a theme last year?
That's a great question. I don't know. Last year's was stressful leading up to it, so I didn't pay attention too much.
Ryan says no. No theme.
Okay, got it. 2026 convention theme contest. A convention theme goes beyond a simple logo or t-shirt. It sets the tone for the event and inspires enthusiasm for the future of the Libertarian Party. Read the rules, support a theme, follow along. Here are the theme rules. $25 per theme entry. No specific individuals' names, no copyrighted logos. You can read the rules yourself. You can submit themes here. So go do that. That's fun. That's awesome. And they'll make t-shirts and slogans and all sorts of stuff based on the theme that is chosen. So go check that out. All right, y'all. Today we're going to be talking about Cop City and the First Liberty scandal.
Alleged Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, Brian wants to make sure we keep saying alleged before we say that. So alleged Ponzi scheme. Before we get to that second one, we're going to talk about some of the developments with Cop City, and we'll bring on our guest after we show you his testimony at City Council last year. So here's Brian Allen testifying at City Council.
Next will be Brian Allen, followed by Louise Carini, and then Dominique Grant. Brian Allen, you have up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Allen, Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party of Georgia and Atlanta resident. I'd like to read selected portions of a resolution that we adopted back in December of last year that is unfortunately still relevant today in September. Whereas on June 12th, 2023, the Libertarian Party of Georgia adopted a resolution to oppose Cop City, condemning the weaponization of the law against peaceful opposition, opposing police militarization, endorsing voting yes on the proposed referendum to repeal Atlanta City Council Ordinance 21-0-0367, and opposing Cop City, also known as the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. And whereas on September 11th, 2023, petitions including over 116,000 signatures supporting the proposed referendum were submitted to the City of Atlanta, as well above the approximately 58,000 signatures needed for the referendum to be held. And whereas on September 29th, 2023, the City of Atlanta publicly released personally identifiable information of the people who signed the petitions, including names, signatures, addresses, and phone numbers. And whereas the City of Atlanta still has not begun signature verification as of December 11th, 2023, which is a full 3 months after having received the petitions, which is now over a year, and has instead spent over $1.3 million legal representation related to fighting against the referendum process and an environmental case brought against Cop City. Therefore, be it resolved that the Libertarian Party of Georgia calls upon the City of Atlanta to stop obstructing the referendum process and begin signature verification immediately, condemns the continued weaponization of the law and other methods utilized by the City of Atlanta and the state of Georgia, clearly intended to silence peaceful opposition to Cop City. If you claim to care about democracy, stop being hypocrites and let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. All right. Now bring on to the stage Mr. Brian Allen. Brian, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Great, man. That was a great speech. You said you prepared that, the night before, the morning of, something like that?
Yeah, pretty much the morning of. I originally wasn't even going to speak, but at last minute, it turned out I needed to. So that's what happened.
That's crazy. I don't like that somebody on the council started talking during your speech into a microphone like that. That seems extremely rude and inappropriate. But you handled it well. Great speech. How was the reception? Did you talk to a bunch of folks while you were there?
I talked to a few people. Pretty much that entire room. Well, a lot of that room was filled with people against Cop City, obviously.
Yeah.
And then after I left, they actually started throwing ping pong balls at the council members.
Gotcha.
Why were they doing that?
It's just a form of protest.
That's crazy. Tomatoes would have been better.
Yeah, then you might have gotten into trouble. The ping pong balls are harmless, whereas tomatoes could cause some problems.
Yeah, that's fair, but it would have been a better visual. Interesting. So that was a couple of years ago. What have been some of the developments since then?
Well, they still haven't counted the signatures for that referendum. It's still just held up in legal limbo. And at this point, Cop City is actually already opened. So I'm sure they're just going to argue that's a moot case at this point.
Yeah.
How is that legal?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean that is a good question. Like how? I mean, the government does so many things are illegal, and they continue to get away with them. So is the way they got away with it this time just because they kept postponing and delaying actually listening to the citizens?
Yeah, what happened was it was a big legal issue because they had it set up to where in order to gather signatures, you needed to be a resident of Atlanta. So you had to be a resident of Atlanta both to sign and to gather signatures. But then there was a court decision saying, no, that's nonsense. Anyone can gather signatures. You just have to be a city resident to sign.
Yeah.
But then the city appealed that, and that's just been in a state of legal limbo since then.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's wild. It's wild that they're already using Cop City. It seemed to happen extremely quickly once those domestic terrorism charges started dropping on people. I didn't hear much about Cop City for a little while, and then all of a sudden I heard it was built. Yeah, what has been your experience? Because I don't live in Georgia anymore. So what's been your experience with like development and actual building of it?
I mean, like you said, it happened fast, and it went over budget, obviously, because we're talking about the government.
Yeah.
They claimed they needed like millions of dollars more for additional security because of the domestic terrorism that they were facing.
Yeah.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy of we need more security. Now we need more security for our security facility.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. It's wild that it got so much backlash almost nationwide for such a long time, and then it just kind of disappeared. Like I don't really know how or why that happened. Like do we know what's happened with some of the folks who got charged with domestic terrorism?
Well, they've also been in legal limbo for years now, but we did have a recent development, which I think we're going to talk about in a minute here, where if you're familiar in Georgia, we have RICO statutes.
Mm-hmm.
Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which was originally created to try and get mobsters. So like you have your mob boss and he has his organization. So they used to have a hard time getting these mob bosses because they wouldn't do anything wrong themselves personally. They would just like order other people to do it for them. So they came up with these RICO statutes to be able to charge them with something. But since then, it's gotten broader and broader, and Georgia has very broad RICO statutes to where they can pretty much get you for about anything these days, which is what they try to do with regards to Stop Cop City.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we talk about the RICO case for a little bit? Yeah. What's going on with that? How did that get brought about?
Well, it got brought about by the Attorney General, Chris Carr, indicted
actually,
61.
Brian, hang on one second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Before we get started on that, can you actually log out and log back in? There's a little audio glitch happening with your audio. You mind if you're just hopping out and then come back on the stream? Wait, were you hearing that too?
Yeah, it was like crackly.
Yeah. That happens from time to time. Sorry, y'all. He'll be right back. You can just look at Cat for the next couple minutes.
Well, we can cut this out, right?
We could. We're not going to.
Just
This is the stuff that people want to see, the boring stuff in between the actual awesome stuff.
You are also cutting in and out a little bit sometimes.
Oh, so it might be me.
Does that sound okay now?
I think so.
We talk again?
Test.
No, it's still doing it.
Still doing a little bit. I can edit some of your mic settings from my side. About that. All right.
What exactly were the protesters doing that made like the police and Carr act like aggressive with, like the police wanting more security and Carr wanting to put RICO charges on them?
Right. So here's where we have to be a bit nuanced, because there were people engaging in actual acts of violence, right? Like, throwing Molotov cocktails and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we condemn that. But there are already other statutes they can be charged with for those kind of activities. But what they were doing with this RICO thing is trying to say, basically anyone engaged in any activity against Cop City is now part of this racket that includes those violent people, and charging them under that. So even if you were just handing out flyers saying, hey, come oppose Cop City, or raising money to try and pay for supplies or something, they could round you up under this RICO Act.
Interesting. That sounds faintly reminiscent of the January 6th folks. We've got a lawyer up here who represented a bunch of them, and some of the people that he represented, if their shoulder brushed a cop on that day, they got arrested for domestic terrorism and violent police.
Oh yeah, that was another one. People got charged with like intimidating a peace officer, whatever that means. Like, we know some of these people, and they were like, young women who maybe weighed 110 pounds, soaking wet, and these, grown police officers are intimidated by them.
I mean, considering who we've been hiring for cops, that might actually make sense. But yeah, so what has been, you were at the beginning, you were talking about, before we had to boot you off and have you come back on, you're talking about like how the RICO charges like originated and everything. So can you keep going into that a little bit, and like what the history of the RICO charges are?
Yeah, so they got brought by the Attorney General, which is actually how they ended up getting dismissed earlier this year. Just Chris Carr said, yeah, I'm going to bring all these RICO charges against anyone even vaguely connected to the Stop Cop City movement. And so then they got hauled off, and they've been stuck in this legal limbo with hearings for years now, because this was back in 2023 that this happened.
Yeah. I mean, we have, like, it's a constitutional right that we have access to a speedy trial. Why? It's been a year, almost 2 years now, I guess. Would you consider that as a speedy trial? Right?
No, I wouldn't. I think in law, it's supposed to be like a matter of days, not even months.
Wow. Yeah, that I feel like that was one constitutionally protected right that did not account for a city of 5 million people, or however many people are in freaking Atlanta, because the idea of you being able to have a speedy a trial like days afterwards, whatever crime you supposedly committed, in a city where thousands and thousands and thousands of crimes are committed daily. That seems like a pipe dream.
Yeah, that's another big issue in Fulton County, where Atlanta is. The unindicted jail population is a lot higher than it should be. Just people who are just sitting in jail, no charges.
Yep. Yeah. That's a problem up here too. We had a lady sit in jail that we're trying to help right now for a year. Entire year just awaiting trial, because they put her bond at an obscene number that made no sense, and so she just sat in jail for a year waiting for trial. Yeah, it's not a good way to go about this. So what do you see happening with the RICO case? Like, what are some of the ins and outs, or what do you see? Like, is there signs of any type of progress on it in the near future?
Yeah, actually, a judge basically ruled on a technicality that the way that he brought these RICO charges was wrong. Like, he was supposed to get like a statement from the governor to authorize him to do it. Yeah. And he just basically forgot, apparently.
So wait. So a judge admitted that he himself was wrong?
But a judge said that the attorney general brought this case wrong.
Oh, gotcha. Interesting.
In order for the attorney general to bring this kind of case, instead of just like a local district attorney, there are requirements have to be met. And apparently one of them was that the governor needed to send an authorization, and the attorney general just didn't ask. I'm sure he could have gotten it just based on who the governor is, but
yeah,
he just didn't do it.
Dude, that's interesting. Who's
do you
the
think
judge?
instead,
Oh,
do you think,
go ahead,
do you think instead Kemp didn't want to give it to him? Because I'm sure, I don't know. I don't think he forgot, because he isn't he running, the attorney general, isn't he running for governor himself, and is doing this whole RICO case maybe to get like, people behind him that want to stop like all the domestic terrorism and violence that happens just in general in Atlanta?
Well, it is true the current attorney general is running for governor. The current governor is term limited, so he can't run again. But after these charges were brought, the General Assembly did pass resolutions basically saying, yeah, we're all law and order people, throw the book at them kind of stuff, which probably wouldn't have happened if Kemp didn't support it. So I don't know.
I forgot what my question was now, Kat. Thank you for that.
You're asking who the judge was.
Oh yeah, who's the judge that did it?
Hang on one second.
Is it Kevin Farmer?
That sounds right. Let me just double check real quick. Yes, Kevin Farmer.
Do we know? Do we know the relationship between Farmer and Carr, or what Farmer's politics are?
I don't have any idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
I do know.
Have you been doing some research, Kat?
No, I just thought that was a funny question, but
it's just interesting
because it could be something. But I mean, he threw it out, so Oh, do you think maybe he might be a liberal? Yeah. But I mean, aren't there so many different conservative people running for governor?
Oh, I have no idea. That's good. That's a good question. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. Brian, what were you about to say?
I was going to say, I mean, they've already signaled they're going to appeal the decision. So there's more legal action to come on that before there's a final resolution. It always seems like these legal battles never really end.
Yeah. So if there's an appeal and the appeal is won by the, appealers.
I mean, how would they win the appeal if they didn't do what they had to do in order for it to be the case to be brought up by the attorney general? Like, how would they be able to appeal that?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, they could just like try and make some argument like, oh, we shouldn't have everything dismissed just because we missed some procedural step, I guess is what they try and say.
I guess. Or they could just get Kemp to send the letter.
Well, it's too late now.
Is it really? I mean, if they're going to...
I would think so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I would hope it is too. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that stops people, like whether or not they have good grounds, I don't think would stop somebody from appealing this. Like, lawyers are very good at making things up or like creating evidence or creating proof of things. So I don't think that that just the idea that there's, they didn't do the thing to begin with would stop somebody from trying to appeal it. But my question is, if they win the appeal, can it be challenged again?
Presumably, like, because you can go all the way up to the Georgia Supreme Court.
Okay. But then that would be years longer to wait.
Yeah.
And it seems like
probably
it's
not as bad as
another year or two.
Yeah, probably not as bad as trying to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, but if you ever try and follow those kind of cases, but
yeah, no, we're taking one up to the Supreme Court right now, so it's going to take a long time. Yeah, are there any other developments that we need to talk about with the Cop City case and the RICO charges and everything?
I don't think so. The RICO
How many
charges.
people were, you said you got how many signatures?
I think you said 113,000.
Yeah, it's something like that. They got a lot more signatures than they needed. There's a question about how many of those signatures are valid, which is why they have to count them.
Yeah.
But they never even got that far. They didn't even bother to count.
How many people need to be against something like this for them to take it seriously and actually consider not, going through with building?
It was 56, I think. 56,000 they needed on the petition.
Yeah, that they needed, and then they gathered more than that.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's what libertarians have to do every single time we get signatures for something. They always discount at least 20% of the signatures. So we always try to get double what the signature requirement is. So yeah, they got more than double, right? Yeah, more than double what the signature requirement was. And it didn't matter because they never even reviewed the dadgum signatures.
Yeah, but they did post everyone's signatures online, so that's fun.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they dox everyone who signed.
Yeah, that's wild. I forgot about that one.
So could this be something that can be brought to like the U.S. Supreme Court, that, or not U.S., maybe I guess the Georgia Supreme Court, that they're acting this way? Because this is just for the city of Atlanta, right?
Yeah, this is just the city of Atlanta.
Like doxing people, not considering the referendum, going through with something that obviously the citizens do not support.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to try and sue a municipality, like a government entity. Like they have sovereign immunity for most things. Like basically you need to find a specific exemption to be able to get them on anything like this.
Yeah.
Putting 100,000 people's lives in danger.
That's a big one. Oh man, that is wild that they did that. And then they just say like, "Oops," like
yeah, pretty much just oops.
Yeah, just what? Yeah, this was not intended. Like, you're like the process that it actually takes to put something online, like a file or a list onto a website. There's no oops involved in that. Like somebody did it on purpose.
Yeah, like they were supposed to put them online, but they were supposed to redact them, right? Redact the personally identifiable information.
Right.
They just failed to do it.
Yeah, which isn't logical in the least. Like either you redact it and you put it online, or you don't. Like there's no oops. There's no mistake in that. It's just somebody wanting the names. That's all it is. Like we talk about it like it's some enigmatic organization that posted these things. It was one person.
It was the clerk. Yeah, the Atlanta City Council clerk.
Yeah, person should be fired 100%, and probably, I mean, other than being protected by their government position, should be like personally sued. Like that's wild. That like it's not like launching a nuke from a submarine where you need multiple keys to be turned. It's one person clicking a button, and they click the button without doing their job. Like that's pathetic. Kat, you had some. You sent me some good notes about like libertarian takeaways to some of this. Can you go over some of that?
I honestly can't remember that list right now, but I did have a question to ask Brian.
Okay, go for it.
So, not talking about like the RICO charges and all of that, but in an anarcho-capitalist society, if a private police company wanted to create their own cop city and people were not supportive of that, not saying that everyone was, but the amount of people, like the 100,000 or whatever out of the 6 million people in Atlanta were opposed to it, how would that be dealt with?
Right. So there are a couple ways it could be dealt with. Like in a quote unquote anarcho-capitalist society, all relationships are voluntary, right? So if there are enough people who would refuse to do business with, this organization is trying to build this, Cop City, then they wouldn't be able to remain there any longer. They just wouldn't, they'd be driven out. And you also can have, you can pressure insurance companies, which play a big role in such a theoretical society. And of course, you'd have competing firms. Like if this firm that's trying to build this Cop City is really so unpopular, then people want to sign up with a competing security firm instead, and they'd lose revenue.
But wouldn't 4 million people's money be enough to support that company, or even 1 million or 2 million?
I mean, potentially. I mean, it just depends on how many people want it, how much they're willing to spend for it. Like there's nothing intrinsically wrong with having a training facility for police officers. Mm-hmm. It's just as the way that they were doing this, and specifically what they were doing this using taxpayer dollars against people's wishes.
Yeah, it was.
But
it
if
was
they
a
had private,
summation. Yeah, so go ahead.
If they had private funding, you'd be okay.
They'd have some private funding for this, but it's all like that quote unquote public-private partnership stuff, which is really not very private at all.
Yeah. It was the summation of how this whole thing went down, and like it's the optics as well, which is what really drove some people crazy. Which is it's the militarization of police is what basically the training facility is, and they staged it. Like they built it to resemble a downtown area, and they use it to train in the style of a military. So it's not. I mean, they will train in other ways too, but one of the ways that they will train there is in the style of military operations, and so that is something that people are vehemently against. Even Republicans should be against that. Like that's not what the police are there for. And so like the optics played a big role in this, but yeah, some of the funding was sketchy, to say the least. And a lot of it was taxpayer dollars. And the fact that like officers from around the country are going to be coming here to train and using our facility, it seems a little backwards, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have anything else to say on this before we move on to the alleged Ponzi scheme?
Alleged, yes.
Kat, you got any more questions or thoughts on this one? Okay. Are you good? You're good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's move on. I don't think we have a link to the first Ponzi scheme. Kat, do we have a link to that? I don't think we did. Okay, so let me just describe it. First Liberty Building and Loan, based in Noonan, Georgia, and led by Edwin Brant Frost IV, operated for over a decade, raising roughly $140 million from around 300 investors. They offered bridge loans, promising 8 to 18% returns, claiming the loans would be repaid through small business loans or commercial funding. On the surface, it appeared to be a legitimate high-yield investment opportunity. In reality, the loans often defaulted, and Frost began using the money from new investors to pay interest to older ones. Classic Ponzi scheme behavior. Investors were also allegedly misused for personal expenses, including credit cards, luxury vacations, and rare coin collections. The scheme went on undetected for years, despite the size of the operation. The fraud came to light in mid-2025 after investors reportedly delayed payments and a whistleblower provided critical internal documents. In June 2025, First Liberty ceased operations, and the SEC filed a complaint in July 2025 seeking to freeze assets and appoint a receiver to recover funds. Political implications also emerged. Frost had donated to Georgia Republican candidates and conservative Christian organizations. Once the scandal broke, many politicians returned donations tied to Frost and First Liberty. So there's the basic description of the alleged Ponzi scheme. Yeah, Brian, what are your thoughts on this one? This is something I was definitely not aware of.
Oh yeah, this has been like a big, especially in conservative politics, this was a big rocking of the boat. Kind of possibly coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, there was a massive exodus of over 70 people from the Georgia Republican Assembly, which was like over 40% funded by First Liberty, like days before they ceased operations, which I found kind of interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
I think two of them were his children. Like they were a big part of the assembly.
wow.
yeah,
One
like
of them
they've
was a
been
chairman.
they've been big players in Georgia politics in particular, but also national Republican politics. Like they've been donating money to causes all across the country that they've gotten from this alleged Ponzi scheme.
So this has been impacting Georgia. It seems to have been impacting Georgia politics for what, like over a decade?
Yeah, they've been in operation since 2014. The suspicion is that at first they were more legitimate, but then they started switching more and more to financing current investors with like the old investors' money or vice versa.
Yeah.
Starting around like 2021.
Interesting. Man, I don't even know where to begin with this one. Ponzi schemes are crazy, and the fact that they're still happening on this scale is wild to me. Like after Madoff and all that stuff that happened in New York, I can't believe people are still getting away with this crap.
Well, they probably didn't start out with it being a Ponzi scheme, right?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, that's what
It probably
Brian was alluding
they
to.
probably were, thought it would work, and then when it stopped working, they were like, okay, this is what we got to do.
Yeah, start cutting corners. Like, oh, we'll just do it this one time, and then things just spiral.
I mean that makes sense. Like that is what happens with a lot of businesses where they'll need to cover expenses for one moment, and so they'll use a credit card, and then they just can't stop, and they go massively into debt. Then they declare bankruptcy, and then the company's done. But in this case, they were able to figure out a way to possibly keep it going by, getting new investors using their money to pay off old debts, which is interesting.
Yeah, while at the same time spending millions of dollars on their own personal things.
Yeah, that's the wild part. That's some Wolf of Wall Street crap.
Apparently, the Georgia Secretary of State, Raffensperger, is that how you say his name?
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to get more funding in the securities division, and I want to hear Brian's take on that. Like, why would he want to, or why should we not or do that?
Right. Well, this is one of those things where, right, fraud is a legitimate crime. And as long as we're saying, the state is the one responsible for it, then they do need to be responsible for it. But I'm always suspicious about increasing funding for any state agency because they don't really have the proper incentives to actually stop what they say they're going to stop. Right? Like, we want them to stop fraud, but if they don't stop fraud, what's their consequence? Like, what happens to them? They still get paid anyway.
And they get more money.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens. Like the incentives are completely reversed for government organizations. Like the teachers union up here has been demanding money, saying that if we had more money, these kids' scores would be going up and not down. But the analysis that was done was that the teachers have been getting paid more and more each year based on inflation. They stay above the inflation rate. And despite that, the kids scores are dropping heavily. So there's no like correlation between pouring money into a government organization and suddenly their jobs being done more efficiently or better. So like the worse you do the worse an organization does in a government organization does, the more money they're going to end up getting. Because government organizations tend to not get cut. They tend to say, oh, the reason we couldn't do our jobs well is because we weren't getting paid enough. We didn't have the right resources. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. And so the logical conclusion is, oh, okay, you need more money. So let's give you more taxpayer money. It's all about incentives. And the government organization incentives are completely backwards from the free market. Yeah. Brian, is that basically correct? You're way smarter than me.
No, that's basically correct. It's all just about incentives, and the Secretary of State's office, we want them to investigate fraud the way they should, but there's no guarantee that just throwing more money at them will accomplish that.
Yeah. In fact, it probably won't. It'll probably do the opposite. I mean, think about it. Like if someone just suddenly gave you, just you personally, $200,000, are you going to be super careful with that right off the bat? Or are you going to be like, okay, I got to pay this off. I got to get that. I got to do, like, most people are going to be spending money like crazy if they get a windfall of cash. I feel like, I mean, there's a whole thing with like lottery winners. When they win the lottery, they don't understand how to manage, because I mean, no one who does understand how to manage finances generally plays the lottery. So most of them, or a high percentage of them, end up broke or having lost all the money. And I feel like the same goes for any governmental organization, because they weren't good at managing the money to begin with. And so when they get a massive influx of cash, they're going to waste it and not spend it on things that actually need to happen and need to be done. Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, kind of an analogy would be like if you're familiar with the IRS, like they spend a bunch more money to hire a whole bunch more auditors, because we're going to go after these big fish who are cheating on their taxes. Yeah. But then in reality, they just go after the middle income earners who just messed up some line somewhere, because that's a lot easier to do than to go after the people with the high power lawyers.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right. That's a good one. Yeah, they start going after people who make the $600 Venmo transactions and things like that. Kat, do you have any other thoughts on this one?
No. Since it's all alleged.
Since it's all alleged. Yeah, that's fair. You had a good reason why you wanted to cover these two topics in the same episode. Can you just talk about that for just a minute?
Yes, because I think both of these stories are good demonstrations of government overreach, which would be the Cop City example, and government complacency, which would be the alleged Ponzi scheme example. Yeah. And so, as libertarians, we would like less government. And so seeing that the government, the inefficiencies that government has, and seeing it actually like playing out in our lives, and either hurting people or not saving people. I thought this would be important to talk about for the Free Georgia podcast.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I think like showing both sides of the coin, that it's not just that they do too much, it's that like even if we pay them a lot, they still do too little in a lot of crucial areas. I think that's great. Yeah, so I guess we'll see where this one goes. Do we know when any court dates are happening or anything like that for this alleged Ponzi scheme?
No, like they're still doing investigations. Like there's still more like SEC and Georgia Ethics Commission like violations coming in. So it's definitely going to be a long time.
Gotcha. Well,
This also showed a bunch of ethics issues with the Republican Assembly PAC. So
Yeah, that's the political action committee that was connected with First Liberty, like funding it basically.
Interesting.
Something like 40% of their donations were coming from it.
Wow, that's a big percentage. Okay, so this might dramatically affect the Republican Party right now in Georgia. That's interesting. Well, I'm interested to see what happens with it for sure. Once there is more developments, we should come back on and talk about it some more because that's an interesting one. This is also a perfect time to wrap up the show because the sun is starting to come up and my face is starting to get way too blown out. So, Brian, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate everything you do for the LP of Georgia and the LP in general. Yeah, folks, about Liberty Watch.
Yeah, Liberty Watch, you can go online to lpgeorgia.com and sign up for Liberty Watch. It's a currently monthly newsletter about what's going on during the off session for the General Assembly. Then once the session starts back up in January, it switches back to weekly, where we cover all the bills and resolutions that are coming out that could and probably will impact you.
Heck yeah. Yeah, y'all can't recommend it enough. It's a phenomenal newsletter to be a part to subscribe to. It will inform you of way more that's going on than what you even thought like was possible. And there are so many things that happen when Georgia Assembly is in session, and yeah, all these laws will affect you in some way, shape, or form. So go sign up for the newsletter, lpgeorgia.org. Or is it .com? It's .com.
It's .com. Yeah.
That's my bad, y'all. lpgeorgia.com. And yeah, check out all our other stuff on there. Kat, you got anything else to say before we go?
No, thank you for coming on, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time on the Free Georgia Podcast. Peace.